How do I start this? Well, hello guys. I will be doing an interview today. I got sent a handful of questions from Live2D that they'd like me to answer. So, yeah. I've never done an interview like this before, so please bear with me. We'll go through them slowly, one by one. There's a total of about 9 questions. So, the first question, could you introduce yourself? So, hello, my name is 46 centimeter. I am a Live2D rigger and artist. I am also known as Toriko, though currently I am taking on the form of Toriko in the past, Malice. I made this model as a sort of commemorative piece to accompany the lore video, so I don't always look like this. Question number 2. What originally inspired you to start using Live2D for the first time? So I started using Live2D in 2019, and basically I saw an artist get a Live2D model and I thought it was really, really cool. So I was like, oh, I'm an artist. I'd like to see my art turned into a model as well. I wonder how much it is. At that time, there was only one sort of source of VTuber models, a rigging guild. So I contacted them and asked them for a quote. And at that time, I was a student, so I did not have that money. So I was like, why don't I give that a go? Why don't I give that a try? So I picked up Live2D myself to make my own model. Question number 3. From starting out in Live2D to winning a creative award, what was your method of learning Live2D, and did they change as time has passed? So, to kind of ride off of my last answer, it was a lot of trial and error. It really was, because at that time, there wasn't a lot of resources. So, the way that I started learning is I watched someone make a VTuber model from start to finish. Like the whole, I think it was like a 9-hour VOD or something. So I watched it from start to finish, and I basically copied what they did step by step on my own model. So I learned as I made. Obviously, because there was no resources, I didn't know about deformer hierarchy, how meshes work, the organization aspect of it, the cutting, texture atlas, etc. I also watched a few Japanese tutorial videos. Luckily for me, I sort of understand Japanese when spoken to, so I was able to sort of osmosis absorb information that way too, and kind of applied that to things where I needed an explanation. But nowadays, there's a lot more resources, a lot more Live2D riggers as well, and I found that the best ways to kind of learn nowadays is to talk to your fellow Live2D riggers and ask questions, or watching other tutorials on YouTube. But I do find that watching live streams of other Live2D riggers is still the most beneficial way, because that way you can see the work process that other people do, because everyone has a different mythology for Live2D rigging, because like I mentioned before, there wasn't really any official resources back then that's in English. So a lot of people that learned, especially a lot of the sort of well-known Live2D riggers, the well-established ones in the English-speaking community, all kind of came up with their own sort of methods. And it's kind of just branched out a lot. So I find Live2D rigging very interesting in that aspect, that everyone rigs in a different way, you know? So it's very, very useful to not get too tunnel visioned into your own process and be open to seeing what other people do as well and getting feedback that way too. But in terms of the creative awards, because I'm a Live2D rigging specialist for VTuber models, the creative awards was technically something that's out of my wheelhouse. My method for learning Live2D there, I think a lot of skills you get from rigging VTuber models is very much transferable to animation as well. Number 4. What is it that motivates you to participate in and create new works for the Creative Awards, as 2024 was not your first time submitting? So for my 2020 Creative Awards entry, I happened to hear about it when I was working on my second personal model. At that time, I was in university, and I wanted to work on a project for myself without feeling burnt out, because I was juggling a lot of work at that time. And since the Creative Awards was already happening, I thought, why don't I just participate? It was just there. So I finished off my model, and then I added a bunch of animations and other little things to show off my skills, because at that time I was studying 2D animation. And it just so happens that it went very well, so I was very, very glad for that. But it was just sort of a off the cuff, on a whim sort of entry at that time. I remember struggling and making my video literally the day before the final submission, I think it was. Something like that. I just remember like scrambling last minute because like the video entry actually has a lot of editing errors, and I'm sure people noticed it but didn't want to say anything, so hopefully it's not too distracting. But then let's move on to the 2024 submission. So this one has a little bit of a history. Basically, when I was making my degree project for university, I was actually using Live2D for that animation. I was gonna make a sort of animated trailer for my webcomic idea that I had at that time. But unfortunately during COVID and lockdown, there was a lot of hurdles, and that kind of prevented me from fully finishing that video, which is why I've never posted it. Of course, I managed to graduate and get a degree, so all went well on that front, but a part of me always felt really disappointed in myself that I never finished that video. So when I got the idea of exploring the lore of my character, Torako, I was like, what if I make a lore video? One thing led to another, and out came A Demon's Requiem. And the kind of meaning for that video to me is pretty special, because it's like I wanted to prove that I could finish a fully animated video. So I'm honestly really glad that we managed to make it, and honestly massive thank you to Vivi in particular though, because if it wasn't for the fact that she was willing to work with me on the video by doing the After Effects compositing and such, I don't think I would have actually finished it. I'm honestly extremely grateful for to her. Number 5. What are your future goals? Oh god, okay, so I have a lot of future goals, so I'm gonna try not to ramble too much. I would love to make more animations, for sure, and work on more VTuber models, because they're just fun. And I have a lot of ideas for more animations, in particular for like music videos or such as well. That could be very fun. I also have an overall goal of working with more cool creators. I'd love to do more collaborations and work with other like-minded individuals for sure. And then I have 2 sort of bucket list goals. I don't know if they'll ever happen, but I am working towards them. One is publishing an art book. Same with like making a webcomic, maybe like a one-shot webcomic. Maybe animate that in Live2D as a promotional video. I think that could be very fun. And then my all-time bucket list goal is I'd love to do Live2D rigging for a gacha game. I'll talk about it a bit more later, but one of my inspirations for Live2D rigging are definitely gacha games, like the way they animate like the character art and such. I just adore it, and I would love to get the opportunity one day to be able to do that kind of work. Number 6. Tell us about one of your favorite features in Cubism, something you would recommend everyone to try/learn. So hands down, my most favorite thing to do in Live2D is clipping things. I think the way that the clipping system in Live2D is really interesting, and it allows for a lot of creative uses. my all-time favorite thing when making models is making shiny things. I like making things shine, and the unique way that the clipping system works allows for me to make those. So I would definitely recommend people to experiment and give it a go, because you can come up with really creative uses for the clipping system. For example, the flames you see here on this model, I made them using reverse clipping, using masks. Same with like the shiny bits on my hair accessory here, for example. Same with the eyes on my forehead and my ears. This model has a lot of interesting clipping methods on it. So yeah, it's one of my favorite things to do. So I definitely recommend giving the clipping features a go, like to kind of look into it and experiment with it and come up with new ways to use it, because you can come up with some really cool stuff. Number 7. Could you tell us about some of your influences or inspirations in the creation of your award-winning work, references, style, etc.? My answer for this is going to be split into a few different answers, because there's a lot of things that influence my work. So I'll start off with first the main subject, Malice. So Malice is a sort of past version of my character Toriko. Toriko is my persona. She is basically my artistic representation of myself, mixed in with a lot of like just random stories I come up with. And when I started streaming, she kind of developed from just being, you know, typical cat girl, typical tiger girl, into becoming more of like a character. So, you know, being a demon, etc. So from there, I've kind of ended up developing this whole concept of a tiger spirit that turned into a demon. And that idea developed into Malice. And I thought it would be really cool to make it into sort of stream event. So that's why I started the lore video idea with Malice in mind. I'd say the biggest source of inspiration, the sort of start to it all, was this one specific video I saw, which was the Alchemy Star promotional video. That video with the usage of the... I don't know if it was Live2D rigging or if it was in After Effects, but the rigging in general, the puppeting, was absolutely beautiful. I adore that video so much. And that kind of gave me the sort of ideas to try to pursue like a short film-esque animation with that sort of rigging style. Then from there, like other gadget games like Genshin Impact released a lot of these like sort of rigged artwork videos, and that just gave me more and more sorts of inspirations on how I could like, sort of gave me the idea that it's possible to make a really interesting animation through Live2D rigging. In terms of style, when I went to Japan not too long ago, I went to a art museum and I saw the works of Nagasawa Rotetsu. He does a lot of like traditional Japanese ink paintings and just paintings in general, and that really inspired me because I just absolutely love ink artwork in general. So when you watch the A Demon's Requiem lore video, you'll notice that in the flashback it was all done in this sort of black and white visual. I wanted it to kind of resemble ink paintings, because the works of Nagasawa Ryotetsu, very specifically his painting on the sliding doors. He did this really famous painting on these sliding doors where it's a tiger on one side and a dragon on another side. Like, just seeing those paintings in person really was inspiring, and I really love that visual. And before we move on to the next question, I do want to add as well, I've also always been inspired by indie animation. So like the animation meme community on YouTube, people who make AMVs, Vocaloid in general, like all of the independently produced music videos. A lot of like my inspirations have been from the independent animation communities. Question number 8. In the future, what type of Live2D expression do you want to take on next? So, as I mentioned before, I thought that music video work could be really cool to do. Usually I feel like a lot of people tend to do the puppeting in After Effects natively, but recently I've been seeing people working with Live2D riggers to make music videos. So I personally really want to pursue working on more music video-esque works that implement Live2D. Number 9. Having won a creative award both in 2020 and 2024, could you talk a little bit about the impact both of those works have had on your creative activities, whether in your work or personal feelings? Oh boy, this is a loaded question, but I will say the biggest impact is the fact that I'm shocked that my works had an impact on someone else. Like, I am honestly extremely shocked at the amount of people that still come by to my streams nowadays being like, oh, I remember seeing your 2020 Creative Awards entry, your model was so cool. Or the people that tell me, oh yeah, I saw your 2024 entry, Adima's Requiem, and it's inspired me to make a video as well. Or I can't stop thinking about it, it made me cry. Just hearing the fact that my works have had an impact on someone else is kind of shocking, I guess. I'm sure a lot of like online artists can kind of relate in the fact that we post art usually mostly for ourselves and we post them into the void. You don't really interact with a lot of people outside when you're like a freelancer. You're mostly at home in your room doing work, and it's hard to really like see that the people who enjoy your work are really impacted by it, I guess. Because it's not like you're talking to them face to face. It's not like you're showing them your work face to face. So the realization that like your work could move someone or motivate someone to start like their creative journey, it's just really amazing that people felt moved enough to tell me, I guess. Like, I feel like a lot of the things that I make and post are just silly little things that I'm just making. Just silly little things I'm doing for myself that, like, don't really matter. But they kind of do, and almost makes me want to cry, really. I say this from the bottom of my heart. Thank you so much to the people who are willing to tell us, I guess. Because if we don't hear from the people who see our works and whatnot, we'll never know. And then the other impact, there are technically one other massive impact that these entries have had on my life. One, my 2020 Creative Awards entry. That was the catalyst, the start to my Live2D rigging career. I would not be here where I am today if it wasn't for the fact that I made that entry. So I'll tell this story again. My first ever Live2D rigging commission was from the lovely Yuki. She reached out to me because she saw my entry and was like, hey, I really want you to be my rig mama. And at the time when I got that message, I'm like, people can commission me for rigs? Like, because obviously, as I mentioned before, back then, the only like rigging entity was a guild. So I had no idea that individuals could get commissioned for some reason. I would not have considered doing VTuber model commissions if it wasn't for the fact that she reached out to me in the first place and commissioned me. That's just how my career started, and I'm forever grateful for that. And through that, and through working on the 2024 Creative Award entry as well, it's really widened my view of like possible career paths. Before, all I was doing was like illustration commissions. And as most people know, art can be a very limiting career path because there's not a lot of like mainstream jobs for artists. But through through getting into Live2D rigging, I've come to realize I can do a lot more. That is a lot more sustainable for me as well in the long run. So I'm very, very grateful and very, very privileged to be in the place I am now, where I'm able to earn a living through doing rigging. And I really, really thank everyone who commissions me, who likes my works, who watches me, keeps me companies on my stream, and Live2D themselves for hosting that competition in the first place, because if it wasn't for that, I don't know where I would be today, honestly. And all in all, I want to continue working and using Live2D and making a lot more cool projects. So thank you so much.